Good morning, or yeah, it's still morning. Amazingly, it's still morning. Good morning and welcome. We have a really interesting topic today. I don't know how Dave and I are going to hash this one out. Let's see if we can get him on here. Looks like we got him coming in. And not been keeping up. We've been talking about masculinity and femininity. And today we're talking about feminine influence versus feminine domination. And he
And
is
he is
at the
at the
gym. You
gym.
know
You
what?
know what? It's a new day,
Good
and it's a new
morning.
me. Good morning, Marva. How you doing?
I mean, if I had known that was the rule, I could have been at the gym instead of sitting here sipping coffee. But okay, then.
Well, next time, Marva, get to the gym.
You know what?
So, so we got a heck of a topic today, Marva.
We have a topic today. Okay, are you there?
I'm here. I'm here.
Okay.
You
You
know,
know, this Facebook thing always likes to pause up on us, so.
yeah, that's because you live in the mountains of North Carolina.
No. I'm on the coast, almost to the coast. I'm not in the
Listen,
mountains.
whatever the reason is, it's your fault. We're blaming it on you.
Okay, I'll accept it because I am girl powered and I have power like that.
Yeah, there you go, girl power. All right. So,
Got
how
femininity will stop the internet.
feminine feminine influence versus feminine domination.
Yes. I'm gonna. Can I go ahead and start off with my caveat for that one?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So, more of my influence in life has had to do with interaction with people of the shades of brown. And so, when you're dealing with brown people, I found out that no matter from where in the world they are from, there are some characteristics that seem to go with brownness. And
Okay.
in that, I will say that, some people you can talk to and you can say, okay, you're going to take two pieces of banana and you're going to put some ice cream on it and some syrup and some whipped cream and some sprinkles and put a cherry on top. And then
Okay.
there are some people you have to talk to, like, okay, it's chitlins and hot sauce.
Okay, go ahead.
That's it.
Okay.
And
So
you
today,
because you want to make this distinction about the influence versus domination, but I'm going to say that it may not be how you say it. It may be the motivation behind how you say it.
all right. Well, then, if that's your caveat, then let me give you my caveat.
Okay.
My caveat is I believe that women make a mistake by trying to
You
exercise
start
power.
out with a mistake. Oh my
Just
goodness.
listen to what
Okay.
I'm saying. Gee. Women make a mistake trying to exercise power the way they see men exercising power. And they have a power that men don't have access to. And men have power that, for whatever reason, women think they want access to. And trying to compete in any arena, whether it be relationships or work or anything else, and competing in a way that you're not equipped or able to compete will always redound to your failure. It's
I
redounded
agree.
to
I
it's
agree.
redounded to the failure of women so much that what they want to do is they want to change the men.
You
And think about it
started
like
out
this:
on shaky ground, but I'll have to say I agree with what you're saying.
when schools were having a problem, they said the schools were having a problem, and because girls weren't allowed to whatever, and so what they did was they changed the schools. Now that the little boys are having a problem, what they're trying to do as a result of that is not change the schools, but now they're trying to change the little boys, trying to change the men. They're trying to either feminize the men
No, ain't no
or
trying to feminize. They're hardcore
well, they're trying to,
with taking away the tactile learning. Males are
well,
tactile learners.
they're definitely trying to feminize the men, and and if they can't feminize them, they're trying to drug them. If they can't get your boys to act in a way that is antithetical to their nature, they will drug them, give them Ritalin and all kinds of things, because the key is to make these little boys behave. Well, what is the standard of behavior?
Exactly.
Who is
Because,
drawing up the standard?
well, so here's the thing. I was telling somebody the other day, I come from a family of high IQs. And the males in my family are notorious for like tearing stuff up because it appears that they're just being destructive, but actually they're searching for mechanisms. They're looking to figure out how it works, what makes it work, what makes it stay together, what makes this turn. And I'm almost thinking that there needs to be almost a separate system because the educational system now has really moved away from the learning styles of males, which is why Black males have such a high dropout rate. It's not their inability to learn or do the work, it's their disinterest in the mechanism of the way that it's taught.
That's definitely part of it. That's definitely part of it.
The system.
There may have you may also have the imposition of the gangster culture and the prevalence
But
of glorifying stupidity
well,
and
yeah, but
ignorance.
think about it. All of that gained prominence at the same time that they took shop and some of those other things that were more tactile ways of learning out of school. That's not coincidental. If you look at the transition from when they started doing less physical and tactile learning things in school, males had to put that energy somewhere and they bond in the streets. It's all very much happened at the same time. They were not separate happenings.
Well, I will tell
Because
you
see, I
this.
was a girl that was in shop. I was in the pocket protector group. So I was over there in shop because they thought I was some kind of smart person.
I wasn't in shop. I didn't take shop.
Oh, I did.
As you
I
can
built some cool
imagine,
stuff.
I didn't take shop. I didn't take home ec.
I did that too,
You
but
know, I
they
wouldn't
got
any of
mad
that
at me at
stuff.
home ec because I already knew how to do all of that stuff because I stayed with my grandmother all the time. So it was like, how
Right?
come y'all
Black
don't know how to
woman,
do this?
black woman from the country. You got mammy training early on. I get it.
You know what? Slow up with the mammy. Slow up. Slow up.
I mean,
Hit the brakes. Hit the brakes.
don't don't brag about it, Mark. Don't brag about it. Jeez.
Why?
Because you're from East Tennessee.
Don't
They
brag
kept y'all
about being a woman. What?
no. They kept y'all on a short leash leash up in East Tennessee, up in the mountains,
You know
up in
what?
Appalachia.
You know what? Let's go horseback riding and see who can do that.
You can, I can.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
You won.
Exactly.
You won that one. You can horseback ride, and
I
go
can
slaughter the
kill it,
pigs and
clean
get the
it, and
bacon and
cook it.
everything.
All of
That's
that.
right.
I'm a country girl.
Yeah. I can
Don't let
buy
the
it.
stilettos fool you. Let the stilettos fool you. I can actually
Yeah.
throw that stiletto and hit something.
Oh
Trust me.
God.
Might want to ask
So
somebody.
here's the thing. Feminine influence versus domination.
Yeah.
Well,
So I
okay.
agree with you to the point that I think our weapon system is different. I think women accomplish things in a and almost to the point where I will say that the ways in which women use their femininity, I think most women, it's such a natural mechanism that they don't really
Mm-hmm.
realize what it is. But then the
Mm-hmm.
women who are angry and who want to use male mechanisms,
Mm-hmm.
um, you're right. They try to emulate something that is not naturally theirs. Um,
Right.
and I will always say you can catch more bees with honey than you can with vinegar.
Right. I think we need to discuss then the nature of influence because it takes wisdom to be influential, and Proverbs always has this juxtaposition in the text where he says things like wisdom is a woman and treats wisdom like God's wife. It says that, with wisdom God created the earth and things of that nature, and doesn't portray wisdom as God's nature, but portrays wisdom as a separate thing by which God adopts his ways of activity. I'm just talking about the book of Proverbs, right?
Okay.
I'm going somewhere with this. And I really think that when we start kind of looking at it, that women women are equipped and naturally so to exercise and operate with wisdom and influence. And this is why, of course, this is why usually lesbian relationships don't really work out very well. It's a whole different story.
Oh my
Whole different
goodness. You
story.
just
Whole different
can't.
story.
You just can't. You can't stay on the train track.
I mean, I'm on the train track. Believe me, I'm going somewhere with that. We'll come back
Elder
to that
Scott
later.
wants to know, why are women angry?
Oh Lord, Jesus.
I
We
mean,
we,
that
we
has to
getting
be a
there.
whole nother show. That's a whole nother
That,
show.
are you angry, Margaret? Are you angry?
No.
No,
Now
I
there's
don't
some
think
people
you
that
are.
get on my nerves, but I'm not angry. No.
You're not angry, right? Like
Mm-mm.
that is not your natural disposition.
No, not at all.
No, no. But
No.
but but you do
There's
know
some
that
people
there
I
are
don't want to
men,
bother with, but I'm not
right?
angry.
There are plenty of men who believe that women are angry.
Well, let's maybe we need to talk about what that looks like to men, because I think a lot of times, I've had men actually say to me, like, they're kind of shocked that you're not angry. Like like, why aren't you in the mode that we're used to having to deal with women in, kind of thing.
Right, right, right.
Um,
I think that men think that they have to play baby psychologist at the beginning of any courtship, and that's part of the reason why they probably don't excel in courtship sometimes because they're trying to figure out what's wrong with her
Instead of going with the flow.
instead of just kind of talking to who she is.
Oh.
I mean,
Oh, he said that I said women are angry. Yeah, so I think when I said that, we were talking in the context of a larger um cultural context, that some women are angry.
why are they angry?
Because they're not getting what they want and they don't know how to get it.
Oh, you mean tell me that women are vain and they want to get what they want? Is that what you're saying?
Um,
Is that
when
what you're
you
admitting?
use the word vain,
Vain?
I don't know that women are vain, because I think
Okay.
more often women are actually much more insecure. Now, can you be insecure and vain at the same time?
Yes.
Okay, well then,
You ever met
because
an
see,
AKA
I
before?
always, uh,
I know a few.
huh?
You ever met an AKA before? I know a few.
Moving right along.
Extremely beautiful, but yet and still has some severe insecurities.
Yeah, but their beauty doesn't mean that they're vain. It's just that somebody else could find them in views as beautiful and they took it.
You think that no, 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 all AKAs are fine.
Yeah, but that
And
doesn't mean that when they look in the mirror, they see that. That means that
well, that's
somebody
true.
else told them that you
Uh huh.
fit this model. And if you don't know how to live up to the model, then
Uh
it
huh.
doesn't matter. You know, somebody
Uh
could
huh.
tell you as fine as Beyonce, but if you walking around and you feel like Precious, your behavior is going to be like Precious.
I agree. I agree. I just want the world to know that the Sigma Gamma Roach just admitted that all AKAs are fine.
I did
Just,
not. You said that.
just want
Because
to throw
I
that
know
out there.
some that I know some
I don't.
AKAs that
I
I
don't know. I don't.
do.
I
I
don't know nothing of
do. I
that. All
know
the ones
some
I know is fine.
AKAs that regular is nice. Anyway, back to our topic, because
Back to the topic. Back to the topic.
you starting another thing. That is so not our theme for today. You were talking about Proverbs. So I'm
Right.
going to say that Proverbs 14
Oh.
um, is actually, we always lock out that one first verse, you know, about the wise woman and foolish woman. But I'm going to say that that whole chapter in and of itself is, I mean, I would actually do like a marriage class from Proverbs 14, because I think it starts out with that, and we take that one verse out, but it's in the context of a lot of other thought processes that can be defined as how humans interact and perceive situations.
Okay.
Um, and so when you're talking about a woman's influence and a woman's domination, I think you always have to talk about what does she do with it, because a woman can have a lot of influence and she can be
Yes.
extremely destructive with her
Very
influence.
much. She
And
can.
and so domination or influence is not the only things that you have to look at, because I know women that have a lot of influence, but they literally tear down everything that they come in contact with because they have this destructive chaos within their being.
But yet and still, beyond every time they mess it up, they still retain influence. They still retain credibility to do it again,
Well, so
or the
here's
ability to do it again, I should say.
so here's the thing. Here's the question. You know, is that influence beyond reputation? And the reason why I say that is because of what you just said, because when you see something as a habitual nature of a person, then if you keep allowing that interaction into your life, you will start to feel like it's domination.
But see, here comes the problem.
Elder Scott said a woman will cut your hair and you lose your strength. You see it every day. It may not be the literal hair,
Well,
but
see,
I have
but he,
seen men lose their potential, lose their anointing, lose
right?
a lot over some chick that really could care less if she destroys them.
But we're putting a lot of make or break power in the hands of some woman right now. When in reality, and probably, we shouldn't. Men haven't should not abdicate their responsibility. Don't abdicate your responsibility because you feel like you know some woman is influencing you or dominating you.
I don't
You
think
still
men
have.
realize it in the when it's happening. I think the no, seriously, I
It
think,
sneaks up on them, huh?
yeah, I think that after the fact, when they, because think about most relationships when they end, when you're in a relationship,
Uh
people
huh.
around you saw stuff and told you stuff that you like, oh, you, no, not like that. But then after the fact, and you sit back and look at it, you be like, oh man.
Well, women have the same thing. Women do. I mean, women have the same issue. You know,
Elder
baby,
Scott
I
is on
told
a
you.
roll this morning.
Oh
He
yeah,
talking about
yeah.
women can do the R. Kelly on you.
I'm not. I'm not even going to respond to
Golly.
that one.
He's on a roll this morning.
Yeah, he's in rare form today. We should have recorded last week because I think what happened, he's making up for lost time.
Oh,
So,
he's feeling like he got extra.
yeah. Because we're not, I'm not even discussing Robert Kelly. I'm not even
No,
going to
let's
do that
skip
right
over
now.
Ara.
Thank you.
We'll skip over Ara.
Yes. Seems like you're ready to move on to the next topic. So
You
anyway,
know what?
so here's the thing though. Okay, so now hang in here with me. So here's the thing. You as a woman, you do have influence, but men, if a woman has influence, then the man is the one that she's influencing. So he has a natural state of authority. The problem with guys is nowadays they feel as if they have to be allowed to exercise that authority, that they have to seek for permission to exercise that authority. And anytime you got to seek for permission to exercise your natural state of authority, you don't have authority. You have granted powers, and I think men need to, they need to recognize who they are, and it's going to take a lot of what I call trial and error, mistakes, but they need to figure out who they are, and then execute from that standpoint. That is, I'm not going to be this person that is seeking for validation and seeking for reassurance that I'm making the right decision. I'm going to learn to trust myself, go forward, and deal with myself and the things of myself.
I
Don
want to
Cheadle's
double
like,
down
shit.
on that.
Don Cheadle used to be like the example of all manliness. He looks like a daggum chick right now.
I'm going to double down on that. And I
I'm
want to
sorry.
say that I think that a lot of what happens has everything to do with the people you allow in your life.
I agree with that.
Because if you allow someone into your life, because I think you mentioned, I don't know how many shows ago, that you talked about how men kind of go in with the I can handle this. And I think a lot of times men get so invested in the quote unquote challenge of being able to handle this, which is how the woman who has the influence gets him so far in that he doesn't realize, oh man, this is not good. But
Like
he's so,
I can't handle this.
well, handle it or not handle it is no longer the issue, because
Right.
it has now had this tsunami effect on everything. And so you're in a situation where her influence has not influenced you toward better. Her influence has actually been um weighted, and that weight has been against where you're going. And so a lot of times men get in there and they're so far in by the time that they realize that this is a mess, that their I can handle it has become let me just survive it. And that's when I think the influence and the domination becomes something different, because at that point you're dominating, because the point of human nature is if a person figures out how to use their mechanisms to get what they want out of you, they can dominate you.
Right.
And I don't think, and I think women, to go back to the angry piece, I think a lot of times women are angry at what they created in their situation. They're not angry at what the other person, the man, brought to the situation. They're
Right.
angry because they built up this house of cards, if you will, and all of these little pieces that they thought were cute along the way. And then when they stand back and look at it, oh my goodness, this is not a Disney castle. This is a castle of cards. And all it takes is one flick and the whole thing falls down. Well, that's what you built. You
But
built
here's the
that.
problem with that. Here's the problem with that.
That's why the
The pro-
wise woman and
he-
that
here,
that
here's the
thing.
here's the problem with that. The problem with that is this, Margaret. The problem is we are talking about everything from the standpoint of a proactive woman, and the man, even in our own conversation, has had no influence whatsoever. He's just there.
That's his
He is
own
reacting
fault.
to whatever. He's reacting to whatever she does.
That's his own
He's
fault.
reacting.
That's his own fault.
Maybe, maybe,
But
maybe.
and you know, I think I sent you the text yesterday, which I noticed that you did not respond to, because I noticed you probably just threw the phone down like I don't want to talk about that.
Tell him about the text, Marvin.
So I sent David a text yesterday, and I said to him, for the record, the beta man loves the alpha woman, and it's what my daddy used to call henpecked.
Uh huh.
And kind of what we're talking about now is kind of leaning that way. Because I think there's a difference in. Oh, you ain't coughing. You're all right. You can breathe. There's a
I'm good.
difference.
I'm working out this morning. That's all.
There's a difference in a situation where a woman has influence and a woman is dominating her man. The other question that I asked David that he just kind of neglected too was I also wanted him to talk about what it would have been like for Ahab to have Jezebel as a wife and the modern context of that, because we always play like Jezebel is some random chick. Jezebel is a wife. She has this title and this position, the job title of a wife. Why are you holding your head down? Pick your head up,
No,
bro.
no, I'm
Pick
not.
your head up, bro.
I'm
Come
good.
on, hold
I'm
your
good.
head up.
I'm looking straight up. Looking straight ahead.
She is the wife. This is the chick that he comes home to every day. This is the chick he eats his meals with.
Right.
Jezebel, we always put Jezebel like off to the side, like she's, some chick just walking down the street. Jezebel is his wife. So,
Right.
what is it like to be married to Jezebel? I'll
Well,
wait.
what is it like today to be married to Jezebel?
You can take it
Wh-
from the biblical story. You can take it modern context. Where you want to go? I'm waiting.
Okay, so what if Jezebel has to whatever extent become the archetype? What if she's been made to be the actual example of what women are supposed to be today?
In the culture,
Yeah.
can't
Let's.
argue
I
with
mean,
it.
all right. So now, if that's the case, then Ahab is reacting the way brothers react to that. The only difference is Ahab's not supposed to because he is the king.
He's
He
the
is expected,
king.
right? He's expected to be the authority figure. God addresses him as the authority figure, but everybody else reacts to Jezebel. Everybody reacts. So she is like the straw that stirs the drink. Now, my biblical theory is that the book of Genesis is really about women, and that's God's way of telling us that when you listen to women, bad things happen. That's what the book of Genesis is all about. Every time, every story that is moved forward, the woman she's a plot device. She moves the story
She is
forward.
truly a plot device.
She makes
Who wrote that?
she makes the action happen. I
Yeah.
wrote that's me. She makes the action happen, and every time the guy listens to her in the book of Genesis, bad stuff happens. You never find a place in the book of Genesis where the woman gives good advice that works out the way
The
it's
women
supposed
that
to.
potentially could have given good advice seem to be silent.
No, no. Well, yeah, yes, but not just that. Not just that. The women that could potentially give good advice also seem to be the women that these men gravitate to. Abraham ends up in Beersheba. He leaves Sarah, and he ends up in Beersheba where Hagar is.
We're
Uh,
not supposed to like Hagar. I mean, you know what
I
I mean?
know,
That's the whole that you and, and
but
and people always talk about Sarah and how he felt when Sarah died. I'm like, are y'all reading the same book?
they ain't reading the same book because the Bible says
That's
he had to come.
exegesis versus eisegesis.
All right, all right. So let's exegete it. The Bible says he had he had to come and bury her,
He went
which
back. He
means
went
that
back to
that's
buy the
right.
land and all of that, right?
Which means that he wasn't there when she died.
Well, no, because the chapter before ends with he sends
Him and
Isaac
Beersheba.
back to his mama, and
That's
he
right.
goes, it, like, go on back
He
to your
went to
mama now. I'm
Beersheba.
going on over here.
I'm going to see Hagar.
Ain't go on to your mama. If you're alive,
Right.
go on back to
Right.
your mama.
Now this is part of the problem that Paul has to face in the first century church, which is why he ends up writing this great doctrine on justification by faith, because he says, yeah, Abraham was a terrible dude, but God justified him because of his faith. Yeah, he was terrible. He pimped his wife, but
He
God
picked her because
justified
he
him
didn't want
by
her. I
faith.
mean,
He didn't want her at all.
Like,
He didn't want to
you can
help.
have some of that. Go ahead. You
Right.
good?
So exactly. He was like, "Yo, I want to live, so just say you my sister, and we'll be straight. We'll be all right." And that's kind of how that works out. Well, you know, that's that's informative. It's informative. If you fast forward it and you get back to where we are with Jezebel, Jezebel is seen as this example of a domineering woman. But like you said, she's a wife. She's trying to help Ahab be a better king. She just wants him to worship her God. And this causes Ahab to fall into apostasy. But now, Ahab is talked to by God. He sends a special prophet to Ahab, Elijah. We don't even know where Elijah comes from. We don't know where Tish is from today. We don't know what a Tishbite is. You won't even have one in the whole Bible. It's Elijah. And, you know, God deals with Ahab, but he has to deal with Ahab because Ahab has to deal with Jezebel. You know, but we give some of our
Now,
female
will we
characters.
define that the council of men? Do, is that, are we going to say that men need that council of men?
I would not define Elijah as Ahab's counsel of men. He is definitely the emissary of God.
Okay.
I'm sure that Ahab had an actual council of men, but I wouldn't put Elijah in that bunch because Ahab was irritated by Elijah himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, Elijah caused him a lot of problems. Elijah had all 450 prophets of Baal killed. Jezebel didn't like that. Ahab had to go back home, and Jezebel was like, "Your preacher done destroyed my whole church. He done tore up my whole church. All we asked him to do is do a revival. He done messed up the whole church."
Messed up the whole Reformation.
Yeah. So, so when you look at it like that, it's like, okay, so we got a different situation here. We got something new happening. How do we handle it? What do we do to make it better? Ahab never gets to the point to where he's making anything better. And to whatever extent he dies a failed king. Well, you fast forward from that example and you go to the book of Esther and you see Vashti. And Vashti, as you know how I teach the book of Esther, Vashti is the only character in the book of Esther with any integrity whatsoever. And they silence her from the very jump.
Yeah, she's like, I ain't gonna be your trophy.
Yeah, she said, you ain't here playing these games, all these fag boys up in here. I'm not gonna be around. Oh, I can't say that on Facebook. You ain't here playing these games, all these alternative lifestyle living people up in here. I can't, let you, show me off like I'm just one of your pretty things.
She's trophy. She's a trophy.
All right. And when he exercises authority, she has to get kicked out. And we've taught that text as if something's
If that's
wrong
the way
with
to
Vashti.
go. Yeah, that's the way to go. Put up. You better check her.
Yeah, but she's the only one with any integrity.
Now let me
Period.
ask you a question there at that point. I think it's very telling when men are disturbed of a woman's potential influence.
Mm-hmm.
I'm waiting.
Oh, is that that's the question?
Solid. It's a statement. Solid.
Yes.
Solid right there.
I don't think men are disturbed by a woman's potential influence. I think a man doesn't mind the counsel. I think what women have to understand is the difference between advice and instruction. That's one thing women don't understand.
You've got to get to that. That's where you're trying to get to.
The difference between advice and instruction. If women could get that right there, their relationships with men would be a lot better off. If you are asked a question, you are asked for your opinion. If in taking your opinion, he decides to do something different, this does not equal an occasion for you to get offended, and it does not equal an occasion for you to point the finger if it doesn't work out and say, I told you, I don't know why you didn't do what I told you to do. Because in the end, he has to make the decision. And if he makes the decision that he can't, if he makes your decision, he can't execute your decision the way you would because it's your decision that you would make. I think women don't oftentimes realize that when they give advice from the standpoint of what I would do
Right.
with my skill set,
So
with my talents, and
right.
my abilities.
Right. So let me go
And then
back and go back to the learning styles, because men are much more able to learn through a kind of trial and error process, whereas women can learn very differently in potential outcomes, and then women go, oh no, I don't want to do that, and they go another way, whereas a man, because they like the challenge of things, they really learn another way. They're like, oh, if I jump off this, I'll bust my head, you think? And then they jump and they go, oh man, I probably could bust my head doing that. And that's like
next time I won't jump.
well, sometimes they be like, maybe I should jump and roll. I mean, it just
Right.
depends on the personality. But
Right.
men learn very differently. And so, like, a lot of times I've learned to just, I say my piece and then I just sit there and let's see what happens
Well,
and wait and see how, because there's nothing, you can't forfeit another person's ability to learn. And I think that's
right.
what happens when women try to make things go. Like you said, their skill sets are different, their ability to navigate things are different.
Right.
And so a man has to kind of figure some things out, because I've had people say to me, well, why didn't you do this and do that? And I said, because you've got to figure it out. You've got to figure it out the way that you learn it. Because if I tell you and you do it the way I tell you to do it, then you really didn't get the lesson that helps you hone that skill that you need going forward. I can't, and see, for me, I don't want a handicapped person per se in my life that can't navigate without me being behind them going, hey, um that you need to, you know if you're doing that all the time, that's when you become the hen peck. And so I don't want that. I want somebody that, even if they mess it up, then, well, okay, you messed it up, fix it. I
Well,
mean, this is my thoughts on how to fix it, but then you go fix it, figure it out. That's what you do when you let somebody lead. I don't know what just happened to our audio. Can you hear me? Or is that on your end? That's on your end. That's you, homie. So I think David has some kind of technical thing going on. I don't know if y'all can hear us or not. Um, yeah, we lost David. So hopefully he'll jump back in momentarily and we can get him back on here. Um, I don't know if it's something going on with him in the gym. It looked like maybe somebody called him. So hopefully he'll chime back in momentarily. If not, then I think we will hit another spot. I think he's trying to get back in now. Let's see if we can catch up with him. Uh, maybe be able to get him on here. I think we got him.
can you believe that? I must have been getting ready to say something incredibly profound.
Okay, well, go ahead and say something incredibly profound.
I don't forgot what it is. Yeah, the point is, the point is, women, God bless them, are noble creatures. They're thoughtful.
You said
They
something
see,
awful, wonderful, and then you get ready to jump to
no,
something else. Okay, go ahead.
no. So they're noble creatures. They're thoughtful. They see things very well from their perspective. They analyze things from their skill set. So when it comes to you getting advice from them, they don't think to say, now, this is what I would do because I am articulate enough to say this, or I am smart enough to work this type of plan. And the guy is asking, sometimes he asks, what would you do? Sometimes he asks, what do you think about the situation? And he has to figure out from his standpoint, how do I handle it with my skill set, my abilities, and my brain, my intellect? And if he's the right kind of man, he takes all this information in and makes a decision. Now, here's the thing: the best statement I heard the last year was, "There is no education in the second kick of a mule." Okay, so so once you get kicked the first time, you should know all you need to know about that donkey, right? But men sometimes will try to find the education in the second kick of a mule. So so
Let me
so
go back
someone,
and do it again.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Maybe it'll turn out better this time.
yeah. So sometimes someone has to say to them, in the nicest way possible, "Hey, fella, you tried that. How about we do this? Or have you considered?" But women don't use language that is not definite because they're very confident that they're right. So they don't use language that says that perhaps there's a different way. They use language that says, of course there's a different way. And not just a different way, but a better way. And this is to whatever extent insulting to whoever. Because women don't like it when they do it to each other.
Yeah, but I think we navigate doing it to each other because our communication is different.
Now y'all don't navigate it at all. Y'all talk about each other behind your back. You call each other all kinds of things when you're not around. And you hate working with each other. And you say things like, "Ooh, all my friends are male friends. I can't get along with women."
Well, yeah, that can be the case, but I also think it depends on the women. And because the reason why I say that, like my best friend growing up, we talk pretty frank with each other, but that's just who we are. Like we're both very straight no chaser kind of personalities. And so and it does limit because you're right, because a lot of women and that's why I was talking earlier about what women see in themselves versus the external view of them. Because a lot of women, their external view is something very different from what they see in themselves. And I think that's human. I think that's human anyway. I think everybody does that. But when you're talking about how people navigate interactions in relationships, my question would be, so if this guy is dealing with his wife and she says something that seems to be pretty solid from the way
Mm-hmm.
she articulates it,
Mm-hmm.
then his ability to respond or to communicate with her becomes very much a part of how that interaction continues on with his actions.
Okay. Go on.
So I think you're right. I think it is that a lot of women don't realize how what they've said was perceived. Um, it could have been perceived in such a way that it sounded very commanding and um, very different from her intent. And I think a lot of that depends on the woman, because I will go back to the concept of what a man is expecting to get from what he actually gets in the communication in the relationship. If he's already
Well,
expecting to have to be on the defensive, sometimes he already jumps to, no, let me defend what I think
well,
before he really even understands what's going on.
let me agree with you on that, and then let me add something on to that by way of a story. And I've got to go. I serve the church as a trustee board, right?
Hmm.
From time to time, we get to meet with Bishop Blake, and there were times when some of our ladies not sounding right. There were times we had the experience of someone talking to Bishop Blake like they were telling him to go wash the dishes,
Mm.
talking to him like they were telling him to go clean up his room. Now here's a man who is the head of the whole Church of God in Christ, and you may be whoever you are that may have some prominence to it, but you don't talk to the presiding bishop like you're telling him to go and clean up his dirty room or go clean up the kitchen. And what happens is guys get to a place to where the tone of the women they deal with
Mm.
doesn't allow them to respond in a way that encourages or fosters communication.
Do you think that's geographic?
No,
You
no,
don't
no,
think
no,
it
no,
depends on where you're from?
no, no. This chick was from the north.
No,
She
but
was
I'm
very.
saying that's why I would say that because do you think Southern women have a little bit more finesse at times?
I think feminine women do. Very feminine women. Feminine
I
women
gave you a road
have a way.
out. I gave you a road
No,
out.
no, 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 no. Very, very feminine women have a soft gentility to them, which allows them to navigate in power structures and be successful because they sound wise. The old mother at the church, she has respectability, even though all her children are left and everything. She has respectability because she has a way of talking to the authority with respect and without embarrassing him. So the pastor is forced to heed what she says because she doesn't say it in a combative way, even if she is being combative. There's a certain
Yeah.
level of femininity that allows a woman to have more power than she would ever know what to do with. But women have been conditioned or have been told that if they want true equality, they have to be able
Where does that
to
come from?
exercise power
Where does that
the way
conditioning come
men do.
from?
White women telling black women what to do. I'm sorry, did I say that out loud? I didn't mean that.
You said that out loud, but I was hoping that you would. I, I mean, the funny thing is
We've not talked about the difference between race and culture yet and how the influences of
well,
that.
I mean, I think that also to add to what you said, I think that also has to do with the angriness too.
Uh oh.
Because in truth, white, black, red, yellow, green, whatever, I think a lot of women know how to use their um, their influence without being angry. This you should be angry. I think you're right. It definitely has been instilled in our culture and instilled in the
Adopted,
models.
adopted by our culture, not instilled, adopted. Your
Well,
mama didn't
okay.
tell you to do that. Well, I'm like
Well,
calling
I
you
was
your
gonna
mother.
say because I know some folks. I know some folks whose mothers were very much angry black women,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
and
forgot the
so
generation that came in.
we cannot say that the angry is limited to any skin tone or lack of tone, because I know some black women who learned how to be angry from their black mother, who was angry
I
at
gotta
her
go.
own.
I done heard something. I done heard something pop. Okay, I gotta go.
You know what?
Okay, I gotta go. So tomorrow, so next week,
Oh, you want to let that one ride out, huh?
we're gonna talk about generations and culture and its effect on femininity. Okay? Good God.
Yeah, you ready to go on back to the back room and
Oh, that
in the
hurts so
back
bad.
office until church is over?
That hurts so bad.
What did you do? Your knee?
Yeah. All right, I gotta go.
Yeah, you need a brace. But go ahead.
Bye.
May the Lord watch between me and thee while we are
But
absent one
absent
from
one from
another.
another. This we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.